Friends, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about interior design trends for the years 2024 and 2025. And today we're going to talk about different trends that are popular right now and try to predict together which trends will be long-lasting and which will be short-lived. The first trend is slats. You won't believe it, but slats used to be an anti-trend because they were so overused. Those, large vertical slats that divide spaces. But now they're making a comeback, though in a slightly different way. Look, if slats used to be large, now they're getting smaller, and even smaller. They're often broken up by large flat surfaces to create some rhythm. And they don't just look good vertically like they used to, but also horizontally or at an angle. And the most interesting part is that they often move into the bathroom. And many slats are moving onto furniture. So this is a trend you can definitely use. What do I think about this trend? I think it will continue to evolve. That is, it's a long-term trend like we talked about with slats, because furniture walls, wall surfaces like mine, see, I have a slatted surface too, need to be made more interesting somehow. So this trend will be long-lasting. But there's one nuance, it will keep changing. Slats on walls will move to furniture, from furniture back to partitions and so on and so forth, so you can't really keep up. But slatted surfaces will definitely remain in demand. The next trend is natural colors. Actually, this is a long-term trend that carries over from year to year. Why does this happen? Because people love nature and want to live closer to it. And this will always be appealing because it's ingrained in our nature, our evolution. And everyone loves nature, of course. Write in the comments if you don't love nature. I think there won't be any comments like that. Everyone loves nature. So what colors to use? Well, first of all shades of beige, all shades of gray, all shades of green. And green pairs very well with terracotta. There are also many natural shades of yellow appearing, by the way. But the most important thing is that very deep colors are popular in fashion. For instance, deep, dark, earthy tone. You can combine and mix all these and you'll get a natural vibe. But there's one color that stands out from all these shades and is also becoming a trend. That's neon. Neon colors pair very well with lighting. As for neon light, I think it will be popular for maybe 1 or 2 years and then it will be replaced by another color. So friends, natural colors are a long-term trend while neon is a short-term trend. But if you like neon, friends, of course, go for it, especially since it's trendy right now. Neon is not just about color, but also about light, because neon signs are becoming popular too. And many lighting manufacturers showcased various stands combining light and neon color at the Milan exhibition. Everything together looks amazing. And now, friends, I'm going to catch a lot of flack. If minimalism was very popular before, it's not popular now. Cozy interiors are in vogue now, which means there's a lot of decor in apartments. You create something minimalistic that you really like and then it goes out of fashion. For example, my apartment. It's quite minimalistic, there's little decor here. I like it, it feels good to me. But it's becoming an anti-trend. So what's in trend? Decorative elements, all sorts of rugs, wall murals. Lots of decor that you can bring from any country and place in your interior. And it will remind you of your favorite trip. In short, coziness. And by the way, if straight lines were popular before, now rounded corners dominate interiors. This is happening in furniture, tables, walls, decor, and everywhere. Everything is rounded, pleasant, and cozy. Not cold colors, but warmer colors. That is, minimalism has transformed into something cozy. So friends, what do I think about this? Well, of course, people want to live in cozy interiors. And the trend for coziness is long-term. So you can confidently use it. Even if minimalism becomes popular again, which it definitely will, a cozy interior will always be in demand because people live in houses and they want warmth, kindness, and love. And it's the warm tones and rounded shapes that create this vibe. Friends, why are we even talking about trends? There are several exhibitions around the world that set trends. There's the Milan exhibition. There's a lot about how Europe and the entire Western world don't know what's happening in China. China is a whole separate culture with its own interior design trends, and we travel a lot to different countries trying to gather information from the Asian world and from the European world, from the Italian exhibition, mix it all together and tell you what's popular worldwide. By the way, friends, if you want a great interior that will not only be popular for a short period but also for a long time, you can reach out to our studio. We create fantastic interior designs. And actually, it's very popular here, when an apartment is handed over from the developer and it just needs to be decorated, furnished with something, furnished with furniture. We also work with that, transforming dwellings, creating coziness, creating a vibe, and using long-term trends for that purpose. We make it so that you feel great and comfortable in this interior for many years. So click the link in the description and reach out to us. We'll create an amazing interior for you. Now let's talk about the kitchen. First of all, floating kitchens and floating islands are popular. When you create a step, it gives the impression that the island in the middle of the kitchen is floating above the ground, above the space. And by the way, it's very functional because a robot vacuum can go under the floating island. It's also convenient to tuck your feet under the floating island when you stand near it. So there's a kind of technological alcove, but it's undeniably beautiful and looks very good. When you add perimeter lighting, it really looks like everything is floating. Also, since decorating is popular, you need space for decor. So more and more cabinets are being broken up with open shelves where you can place decor. This includes open elements on upper wall cabinets and lower full-size cabinets where you can place your favorite cups or a set, or any decorative items you need. So open shelves are becoming popular too. The next trend is very beautiful, glass and mirrors. And glass, in fact, is very popular when it's transparent without any tints. But the color of the glass is created with lighting. When artificial light passes through a glass block, it creates, a slight tint that comes through the light. And also how this glass block reflects surfaces, how the light passes through the glass and hits the wall, creating a kind of glare, a reflection. It's very, very beautiful. Actually, this trend keeps coming in and out of fashion. So interiors with glass blocks, interiors with a lot of glass will be popular, then go out of fashion and then become popular again. So it's a variable but long-term trend. And by the way, speaking of glass, for example, glass furniture is becoming very popular now. I saw this at the exhibition in China and at the Milan exhibition. There was quite a lot of glass furniture presented. It's not just a tabletop on a coffee table. It's full-fledged chairs, full-fledged tables, full-fledged armchairs like chairs. And it can be a dresser, it can be various consoles. You can use all of this in your interior. And it's very beautiful how natural or artificial light passes through this glass furniture and reflects on the walls, creating crazy reflections. So friends, a very beautiful trend, make sure to use it. I really like it, and we use it in our interiors. Actually, nature is also reflected in glass elements. This is seen in the curved lines of chairs and in various glass decor items that you can place on a table. For example, glass flowers, they're very beautiful. So let's continue with mirrors. In fact, when we combine a mirrored surface with a glass surface, for instance, placing a mirror behind glass blocks, it also looks very beautiful. Or, for example, when we make the frame of a mirror out of some kind of glass edging and put beautiful lighting inside. But the most interesting and the very first rule about trends is to do what you like. Why is that? Because trends are constantly changing. Try not to follow trends because it's you who will live in this housing. And it doesn't matter what other people think. But if you do decide to follow trends, there are two important things to keep in mind. There are long-term trends that last for decades, and there are short-term ones that constantly change, for instance, colors. The next trend is the eco-trend. This is a long-term trend for the same reason, because people want to live in harmony with nature. And how does this manifest? First of all, in a large number of plants. Moreover, these plants are not the ones that are brought from some tropical climate to our European interiors, but those that actually grow in this region. That is, if you live in the tropics, tropical plants will be appropriate. If you live in a temperate climate, then the preferred plants will be those that grow there. So, we're not inventing something new. We're creating a space that reflects what we have outside our windows. By doing so, we slightly extend the interior from outside to inside, psychologically increasing the space. This is also an example element. Further on the eco-trend, woven items of all kinds. Woven items are becoming very popular in furniture and, for instance, in wall partitions or wall panels that you can use either to divide space or for decoration. This is also becoming very popular. Speaking of the eco-trend in general, it has been popular for many years. Everything related to eco has been increasingly popular for the past 30 years. Friends, there's another way you can bring a natural atmosphere into your home even more. You can add soundscapes, birdsong, ocean waves, the sound of the sea. And this idea is used in my apartment. In my bathroom, the wall lights up in blue and through a smart speaker, you hear the sound of the sea. It looks very cool, a very nice soundscape that immerses you in the atmosphere of the ocean, of traveling. You can use the same technique in the living room. For example, you display a fireplace on your TV or projector and you hear the crackling sound of the fire. This also creates a very cozy, pleasant atmosphere at home. Now let's talk about partitions. Actually, there's a slight shift away from the usual wall that divides space. You can use, for example, zoning fabrics, where you can simply stretch and hang a cloth to divide different zones. A new trend is trampoline partitions, like those trampoline castles kids jump on. You can also use this in interiors. Various hanging chains are becoming very popular too. And of course, partitions in general are becoming very light and airy to create more air and space in the interior. So you can use these elements in your interiors as well. The next trend is the search for new materials, innovative materials. And this trend combines with the eco-trend with recycling, where you use, for example, recycled plastic to make furniture. This not only means that you are preserving nature by using secondary plastic, it also reflects the overall mindset of the homeowner, showing that it aligns with your principles. So, furniture made from recycled materials like old sawdust, plastic, and other recycled items is becoming more popular. And this is a long-term trend because our world is not a dump, but unfortunately, it is getting polluted and needs to be cleaned. And what we clean up needs to be recycled and used somehow. So recycled materials are becoming popular. Use them, and by the way, this can show your commitment to preserving nature to people who visit your home or establishment where you use this. So this is very important and a very smart trend. Now, friends, let's talk about stone. Stone is actually moving towards travertine, towards all sorts of beige surfaces, as well as marble textures. So I won't talk much about stone. Yes, warm travertine stone is becoming very popular. And generally, stone is being used not only for countertops, walls, and floors, but also for furniture. This can be seen not only in interior design, but also in contemporary art pieces. Recently, for example, I was at the Art Basel exhibition in Hong Kong. Art pieces from all over the world, from all major galleries, gather in one place for 3 days or a week. I can't remember how long. Anyway, it's a great exhibition. And there were marble, chairs. There used to be plastic chairs, but now they are marble. And they were stacked one on top of the other with a ball in between. It looked very cool. Although a table made entirely of stone is slowly transitioning into furniture items, you can also use this in your interior. The main thing is that they aren't too heavy, because marble is a heavy stone, or the piece should stay in one place so it doesn't need to be moved like a table that always stays in one spot. So you can use this in your interior as well. Now let's talk about eclecticism. Basically, when you take a part of a classic interior, do wall murals, insert modern furniture into this interior, add a lot of decor, and a contrasting element like a very bright chair that stands out from the entire picture. That's called eclecticism. When you combine the incompatible, mix different furniture items. This is actually gaining more and more popularity. Sometimes it can even look borderline kitschy and humorous, but it actually looks cool. And when we combine several different styles, new styles emerge, which increasingly captivate people's minds and their interiors. And the next trend, probably the one I like the most, is quiet luxury. It's often applied in bathrooms. This is when we don't shout that everything is rich and luxurious, don't cover everything in gold and bright elements, but create a calm interior using expensive, high-quality materials that are also functional, for example, so you don't have to worry about spilling something. And this quiet luxury, I think, is a very correct and understandable trend, where we don't boast about what we have, but simply use high-quality, expensive materials within what we need. So you can use this too. Actually, guys, I love traveling and drawing design ideas from all over the world. Recently, I was in Seoul, South Korea, and bought these trendy glasses, by the way. You can write in the comments what you think about these glasses, but I think there will be an explosion of hate about these glasses. Actually, I travel around the world and see a lot of fabric, furry, such furry items on chairs and walls. There's a lot of this in China, and people really like it. And this mixing of different cultures actually creates new trends in interior design. So friends, to diversify your visual experience, I recommend traveling to different countries. And not just tropical islands with sand, but also major global financial and commercial centers like Seoul, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Shanghai, all European cities and American cities. So, the world is very diverse and each place has its own interesting trends. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. Write in the comments everything you think about trends and anti-trends, what you've noticed becoming popular lately. And together we'll gather an interesting base of what you can use in interiors and beyond. That's all, hugs to everyone and see you in the next videos. Bye bye.